died again because so the thing is, when I make a video, it usually has like 3 or 4 parts, and I edit them together. But like for some reason, sometimes I render, and the last part doesn't get added in. I don't know why it is. Like I will just change my editor if that's the case. It's so annoying. Because I'm looking at my main channel, and it seems that the video just cut off. Yeah. Eh. And the thing is, like, it cuts off, and there's like 20 extra seconds maybe of footage that that it's added. So now if I take down the video and I fix it and I upload the other parts, it completely gets killed by the algorithm, and then no one sees it. So I'm in a little bit of a predicament. Like, do I fix it or do I leave it as it is? Because YouTube doesn't just allow you to add an extra layer. It's like once you uploaded the video, that's it. So I'll have to recheck them a little bit more carefully until I change the editor. One of the most annoying things in my life is listening to my own voice, which is why I don't really check them. I mean, I look at them, I skim through them a little bit, but I guess I'll check the ending from now on. So I apologize if the video cuts off. I don't think the countdown at the start influences it. No, I definitely think that it may just be the editor that I'm having. Like, for some reason, it doesn't want to include the last part, and it has happened before, and it's very annoying. Right. So regarding Twitter, it is true what I've been talking about, that they crack down on sensitive content, and for some reason, not safe for work is considered sensitive content. There is a way, though, you can turn it back on. Like, there is a an option within the Twitter homepage. You can only activate it from desktop. You can't activate it from your phone. And you can actually turn on the sensitivity thing, right? So, like, sensitive events, they call it. And it includes, like, the problem is, like, if you're a person that just wants to watch hentai, if you're a person that just wants to watch, artists and people that draw and stuff, but you don't want to see gore, like, you don't want to see violence, you can't separate the two. They're under the same, category. And yeah. Good day, V. Gotta run to my second job. Have a good stream, and thank you for the buyer's support. Well, no, thank you, Xanothium. Thank you for the $5. I appreciate it. Holzinator, welcome to the show. I'm glad that you could make it. Don't worry, V. Listening to your voice is one of the most annoying things to us, too. Well, I don't think that's the case, because a lot of people listen to it, and it just baffles my mind. I'm like, how do people manage to put up with my voice? Hold on, let me see if I can share this, and then we can talk about interesting things. There is one interesting thing. I said about the conflict of Israel that it doesn't affect me, right? But apparently it can affect people, right? Because it is a little bit concerning. So if you follow anything from the region, you will notice that the nations surrounding Israel, they have issued red lines in the past, which is basically like, do not go into Gaza. Like, that is a red line that they have poised against Israel. And now they are going in. Now, what's interesting is that the Americans themselves have said, apparently behind closed doors, how should I put it? Be more gentle, like kind of like that, kind of like, just don't go all out. The thing is, like, if you watch history, the previous world wars, they didn't start with just like the assassination on Ferdinand or the invasion of Germany into Poland. It doesn't really start like that. It's usually like smaller events that, when put together, they boil into something bigger. So yeah, it is concerning. Like, the situation around Israel is concerning, and also like the whole thing with this attack. It's like, what exactly were they trying to do? Like, what is the game here? What is the plan? I mean, obviously, Gaza can't just do anything against Israel. So what were they actually trying to accomplish? And it is concerning. In France, however, they passed a law that if anyone supports the terrorists, so if there's any people that are supporting Hamas, they can risk 5 years in prison. Which is interesting, don't get me wrong. France doesn't really have free speech, so this is like a good legislation. The only question is going to be like, how are they going to enforce it, and how are they going to apply it? That's the question. And how much spyware is it going to be needed? Is it going to be used against average people that aren't even interested in this conflict? Right? Like, that's the actual question. Take into account that most of the things that were invented to fight 9/11, so we're talking about the Patriot Act, and we're talking about various groups and organizations that were funded in order to fight terrorism, have been used in order to fight average right-wingers. And I'm not talking about MAGA supporters even. Like, for example, the parents that issued concern about what their kids are being taught in schools. They, I think, like, the teachers labeled them terrorists and stuff. So basically, when you have like a system that's used in order to fight bad guys, take into account that, because the way it works, like this is why it always happens, and it has happened throughout history. This is not an American thing. You create an apparatus in order to, I don't know, fight extremism, right? So, like, let's say right now, Romania would create an apparatus in order to fight Russian propaganda. I'm just pulling it out. I don't know. But like Russian propaganda. Okay. Now, what does this mean? This means that the government is going to actually fund and pay for people to do this. Like, there's going to be a couple of individuals that go to an office, and this is their job, right? Like, they're getting paid from the government in order to handle this situation. And usually over time, they will demand more resources, they will demand more manpower, right? And more abilities in order to better fight the problem. But once the problem goes away, like, let's say the war in Ukraine is finally over, and, like, Russia gets new leadership, and there's not, like, it's in the past. Like, no one cares about the misinformation anymore. Those people still want to get paid. Like, they still want a job, and they're not going to just, want to be disbanded. So now the government goes like, okay, well, we have this group. Like, how can we use it in order to fight against other things? And they need a new target, basically. They reorient it. It's kind of like during the pandemic. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of organizations weren't created specifically to fight misinformation online and vaccine hesitancy and whatever they had, which are definitely not going to be disbanded once the pandemic was over. Real Holzlayer says, I know I'm joking around, everyone hates the sound of their voice, especially when it's recorded. Keep up the work. Yeah, it's very cringe, isn't it? Hentai artists are the most oppressed minority. No, unironically, like I find this to be very interesting that actual, Rolling Stones likes to call them sex workers, but I don't call them sex workers because there's no real sex. Like, if you're just a girl in your bedroom and you're filming your booba, like, that's not sex. Like, I mean, it's work, right? Like, you still have to set the cameras, you still need to put the right angle, you still need to use the filter and the Photoshop and all of that. It is work. But how can you call it sex work if it's no sex? So those people are actually promoted by the system, and they are defended by the system because I believe they fall under the umbrella of feminism. So the woke ideology actually does encourage and helps these individuals. Meanwhile, if you're an artist, especially if you're a Japanese artist, you're going to have a very difficult time in order to promote your work on Twitter. And again, like, this is sad because a lot of these people, I know that many may not agree with me with this assessment, but I would compare them with, modern day sculptors and modern day painters. I mean, 3D modeling is like sculpting, pretty much, right? You do it on a computer. It's just like new tools, but they are the artists of our time. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these artists, and this is especially due to the fact that actual art, like Disney and stuff, is going down. Like, it looks like shit. I mean, Call Arts looks like literal garbage. But there will be artists that they produce some works, some of them safe for work, others not safe for work, but like their work can definitely be passed on to future generations, and there's going to be people looking back and saying, wow, like this is great and amazing art. This is our art style, it's the same way like when you go into a museum and you see paintings that are done by people in the Renaissance era. It's the same stuff. Dude, why are you streaming so early? Well, I'm trying to stream a little bit for the Europeans, and I also have like something to do tonight. I need to also prepare for the Archcast, so I decided to stream a little bit earlier. I was on the bog and panicked. Have some money as a token of how angry I am. Well, I need to make you angry more often then. Hi V, my city of origin is Toronto. Well, I'm sad. I'm really sad to hear that. That is, are you okay? Are you alright? Like, Toronto? Really? Holy shit. I heard it's worse than San Francisco. Apparently it's under martial law for the foreseeable future. Also, your voice is mega squeak. What? Hold on. That can't be right. Why is Toronto under martial law? Jesus fucking Christ. I don't think that's true. First question, is Toronto under martial law? Claim that Canada imposed martial law is false. Is that... Yeah, why are you telling me harmful and dangerous misinformation? Like, whenever I hear something, this is how I fact check, by the way. Whenever I hear something, like, the question is, how newsworthy is it, right? Like, if you were to tell me that, I don't know, like, someone got beaten up, I would be like, is this really newsworthy? I mean, like, maybe local news, maybe an insider thing, like, if you're in the area, it is possible that I wouldn't have heard about it, right? Or some politician gets attacked. I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's going to be in the news soon. Like, if it's a big party, right? It depends. But when you're telling me something like Toronto is under martial law, I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, that would be on every single news channel. That would be on CNN. That would be on MSNBC. That would be on Sky News. Like, now, different channels would have, like, a different take regarding it. Like, some would justify it. Some would be against it. But, like, it would definitely be something that you'd hear everywhere. Also, I missed the earlier stream. You don't need it, but you should absolutely use some kind of automated backup as an external SSD. I do have a USB. Yes, I do have a USB where I maintain the backup. I don't need something as large as an SSD. There's also, like, different people involved in the project, so, like, if I lose my data, they have theirs. It's fine. Like, no, it's unironically that's not the issue. No, the issue was that I was, like, writing the dialogue. And, I just started it, like, I was getting used to it. I didn't write any dialogue in a video game before. And all of a sudden, the whole thing crashed. And when I got back, everything that I wrote was gone. So it was, like, 4 days worth of work. I have saved constantly, but I didn't realize that the entire project can get corrupted. So, that's the whole thing. It wasn't that... SSD is more reliable. Well, okay, fuck it. I'm not going to start buying, like, new... It's already on one hard drive. It's already on a USB. It's already to other people. Like, come on. There is a level where you get into paranoia. Apart from Egypt, the countries around Israel didn't really offer to help the civilians in Gaza. They are, however, eager to fight. Well, yeah, because it's political interest. It's not that, like... In every war that has happened on the face of the earth, without exception, there are two things that matter. Number one, it's the reality, like the real cause belly. And number two is what you tell the people in order to fight, right? So, like, even World War II, like, a lot of people are like, well, Germany was going into Poland in order to defend the German minority. It didn't give a fuck. No, like, they went because of resources. Like, the shrinking market theory was what was being pushed at the time. I don't know how much the leadership of the party believed in it. It's a theory that has been debunked, but the idea was that Germany was requiring to import grain and food from Eastern Europe. And the way they did it was that they would give Eastern Europe manufactured goods. So they would give them cars, they would give them... furniture, pianos, like Germany was actually a big contributor of pianos, right? And in exchange, Eastern Europe would give Germany with wood, coal, grain, oil. Now, the idea was that as this transaction takes place, eventually Eastern Europe will have its own industry of piano manufacturing, car manufacturing, and they won't need Germany. So Germany was shocked because, like, okay, well, how do we get food then? Like, if we can't get it from within our borders and we can't get it from Eastern Europe, then we are going to be in a position where the international community can use soft power in order to decide Germany's future. So that's why they invaded Poland. But obviously that's not what they tell the people, right? Because the masses, like, even if that theory was true, which is not, the masses really don't understand any of this. So you just tell the people, it's like, okay, well, the German minorities in Poland are being oppressed. It's kind of the same with the United States, right? Like, for example, invading Iraq. Well, the main issue was, like, to solidify U.S. presence in the region, and it was also to make sure that the petrodollar remains in place. But here's another example. The whole war with Ukraine and Russia. There was a U.S. politician, Mr. Kreshaw, you know, the guy with an eye patch that Hassan Piker doesn't like. He actually stated that the reason that the United States is supporting Ukraine is because it can do so without a single U.S. soldier dying, and it can weaken Russia. And when he said that on national television, which is probably what most right-wing politicians do discuss behind closed doors, the public was appalled. The public was appalled. It's like, oh, what do you mean? Oh, horrible, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, the American way of life is tied with the fact that America has to be the number one on the globe. Like, the moment that America isn't the hegemon, the average lifestyle of the average American is going to go down dramatically. And the average lifestyle of Europeans, because Europe is relying on America's military to protect us so that we don't have wars. And I'm not talking about wars with China or Russia, no, like wars within Europe as well. If you look at Europeans' history, there have been wars in Europe almost throughout the entire time period. The only exception has been after World War II when we are using NATO in order to protect us. But yeah. So you can't really tell people, like, the real reason for a conflict. They don't accept it. So then you have to come up with platitudes. And you're like, oh, well, we're going to look for weapons of mass distractions. Babies in the incubator. You know, like, that's has always been the case. Like, this is not something new. Who cares about Europe? I mean, people who live in Europe for once, then you realize that many European countries are nuclear powers. The world is a lot more interconnected than most people on the internet like to give it credit. If Europe was to suffer, like, let's say, a huge banking crisis, it would affect the life of Americans as well. Like, America needs a place to sell its shit as well. Like, it's not really that unilateral. Like, who cares about Europe? Weapons of mass distraction, yes. I didn't have a speech impediment. I said exactly what I wanted to say. Hello, Titan Ravenscar. Welcome to the show. I care about Europe. The mainland is acting up again. Yes. V, get Bill back for another stream. Who's Bill? Bill. Get Bill back. I don't know who Bill is. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people, dude, believe it or not, despite the fact that I only have 115 viewers, I do have tens of thousands of subscribers. So, especially a common name like Bill is very, very difficult to remember. Alright, so Harvard is finally having the president. Well, this is diverse. The president has gay in the name. That's very progressive. Harvard president Claudine Gay refuses to punish students behind anti-Israeli leader. So basically what Mrs. Gay is trying to suggest here is that when I have less power than you, I am going to advocate for free speech because those are your principles. When I have more power than you, then I will take away your free speech because those are my principles. Unironically, this is what she's doing. The idea that there is something as free speech at Harvard, of all places, is beyond ridiculous, laughable, and it's something of a hard sell. Like, you could have convinced people that Harvard has free speech back in 2016. You know, and it has like the Socratic method and the academic rigor that people would expect from Harvard. But in reality, no. It's like the university professors teach and educate students how to think, not what to think. Sorry, what to think, not how to think, and that's that. So Harvard President Claudine Gay pushed back on attempts to name students who signed the letter. I would like to point out that she doesn't have to name shit. Like the whole purpose of signing a letter is because you want your name public, right? It's a complete different thing than if, let's say if I were to make a post on Twitter that was edgy, right? Now, if a leftist activist was, all right, well, this is his real face, this is his name, this is where he lives, right? That would be, I wouldn't even say doxing. It would definitely be, I would say that doxing is when you provide someone with social security numbers, someone's personal information, bank account. But like, still, like, breaking the anonymity of a person on the internet is socially unacceptable in most civilized circles, right? Like, that's, we should have, like, different levels of doxing. Because obviously, like, if someone puts your credit card online, like, that is far worse than putting your face, right? Can we agree with that? So, in the situation where a person, like, has a take on the internet and they're like, okay, well, this is his face, this is where he lives, that is one thing. But this is not what happened here. No, what happened here is that students at a university at Harvard decided to sign a letter where they morally stand with the terrorists. Like, they wanted the public to know. It's their desire. Like, it's in their heart. Like, that is what they desire the most, right? Like, it's... Why else would you sign a letter? It's the same like signing a petition. Like, when you sign a petition, you want your name associated with that petition. Like, it's literally the whole fucking purpose of a petition. Is to show that, yeah, like, I support or I demand or I ask. Right? Like, this is why you do these things. No one forces you to sign shit. Right? Like, this is not like what some students... Like here it would be doxing. If you were to tell me that these students... we're talking about it at the university, right? So in a classroom, some students during a debate said such and such, and now you want their faces plastered. Like, that would be different. We're not talking about that, right? It's not that in their dorms or in their private time or on campus they said these things. No. They wanted a letter to be signed with their name. It's literally the only reason that we're supposed to be upset now is due to the fact that, people weren't giving them a standing ovation. That's why they signed the letter. They signed the letter not to actually express support. No, they signed the letter to receive a standing ovation. And instead they are met with harsh words and criticisms. Literally, the truck of social consequences is coming for them. Literally. I mean, it's according to their ideology. Not mine. Do you know what they say? They say that they believe in free speech, but free speech comes with consequences. Okay. It is the truck of consequences that Harvard is now trying to defend them from. This lady is standing between the consequences. I don't think she's going to stand very well against the consequences because this individual by the name of Actman from YouTube. He does look a little bit like Actman from YouTube, doesn't he? Is this how Actman got his channel back? Contacted? Is he related, do you think? Looks related. He's a hedge fund manager. You can tell by the expensive watch he's got. Watch. Who has watches in the age of smartphones, by the way? Like, huh? When I want to know what time it is, do you know what I do? I go into my pocket, I pull my watch, that is called a smartphone, and if you wiggle your smartphone a little bit, it shows the time. But having a watch means that you want to show off that you have cash, right? It's like, look how rich I am. I have a watch. Okay. Mr. Ackman was contacted by CEOs saying like, okay, well, who are these students? Because we don't want to hire them. And it makes sense. Like, why would you hire them? Like, I just want people to understand the context. We're not talking about like some students that were giving like their, solidarity to Palestine. No, like that's not what happened. It was some of the most gruesome footage that I have ever seen on Twitter. Absolutely gruesome, grotesque. Old people getting shot, women being dragged on the streets. Just some of the most horrible stuff in 2023. Because I have seen other horrible stuff before. Like, for example, involving an anus and a jar. Like, you can find grotesque stuff on the internet, but this definitely made the list of 2023. And recently after, like we're talking less than a couple of hours, these students are signing the letter and they're like, yes, no, this is good. I understand if people don't want them as their neighbor. Because a lot of them were even saying, this is what decolonization looks like. Right? So, if that's the case, then decolonization needs to be treated as a harmful thing. The social media should issue TOS violation. If decolonization means not just killing innocents, but like doing a circus macabre on the internet and displaying the bodies and stuff. Jesus fucking Christ. Anyway, also, like if you go back in time, almost every single country on Earth has been created by some form of colonization. Like, do you think like most people in the Middle East were always there? Like, no. Like, look at the history and look at what happened. Even Romania, like Romania, for instance, is created by the Roman Empire colonizing the Dacians. This was, I think, like 300 before Jesus Christ. Like, you will have difficulty in finding a country where the people that were there were never colonized by someone else. Maybe if you go north enough and you reach the Eskimos, but that's, I assume, due to the fact that the land that they occupy is not something that most people desire. Because usually colonists, they go on lands that is rich with resources and minerals. The truck of consequences is much kinder than the truck of peace. Depends. I don't know. Like, I know what you're saying, but honestly, like, imagine the idea of being a social pariah for the rest of your life. Like, you will never find a job. You will never be able to be in any circle of people that find you acceptable. It's apart from Egypt. I talked about this. The watch thing is a social class signal. I don't know, like I have seen people that aren't very wealthy and they have a watch. The worst thing that I have seen, I think it was this lady from the European Union. This lady had 3 ways of telling the time. So she had like the watch, and then she had an iPhone watch on the other hand. It's like wearing handcuffs, literally. And then she also had the smartphone. So, like, no matter what happened, that lady would always know the time. Like, she can look at her iPod, her iWatch. She can look at her actual clock, and she can pull out her smartphone. At least said person would be alive. I guess it's the question, like, what do you care about most? Do you care about the quality of life, or do you just care about living? Because quality of life, in my opinion, is also important. Yeah, the Apple Watch. I forgot where that lady was. Like, it was in an advert where the European Union was, like, showing solidarity to the masses. And I was like, How can you show me solidarity when you are so rich that you don't know what to do with the money that you have to buy 3 watches? Again, like 3 watches, like one on the left hand, one on the right hand, and the smartphone. I never understand the concept of an Apple Watch. Like, what exactly does it bring that the smartphone doesn't? Because, like, everyone takes their smartphones with them, right? So, like, when do you take an Apple Watch? But I guess it measures your heart rate, right? Like, that's the only thing that it does, what your smartphone doesn't. Other rich people have to see the 10,000 USD have to see that watch. Regular watches give you instant access to the time and can take a beating. People pretending to be into fitness love Fitbit watches. No, like Fitbit watches I get, right? Because it measures your heart rate and... okay, fine. But like an Apple Watch, because that's an expense, right? Like you're paying way more, and they're also carrying it when they're not doing fitness. Because I understand, someone goes to the gym and they have like a watch. Although, like, modern gyms now, even then, like, modern gyms, you have, like, a place where you hold your hand, you grip the thing, and it measures your heart rate, and... the Apple Watch is sending sensory information and audio and 5G ping data, which can render a 3D image of your environment. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, at this point... You know what's more surprising is not the fact that it does this. There's 2 things that surprise me. Number one, that people would show these concepts in dystopian movies. Like, if you guys remember Batman movie, which, I mean, how long ago was it, right? Like 10 years ago or something like that? Dark Knight. I don't think it was in The Dark Knight Rises. It was the one with the Joker. I forgot the name. The second one of the trilogy. And it shows that Batman has, like, this technology where he can use people's phones in order to, like, map the entire city, and he can listen to anyone. And this freaks the living shit out of Lucius Fox. So he's in the Batcave, and he shows that he's got access to this spyware technology. And Lucius Fox says that unless he deletes that, after using it once, he will resign. Like, he will have his resignation. And that was considered to be dystopia. Like, Lucius Fox is considered to be the good guy in this, right? Even though, like, Batman, like, he will always use it for good because he's a fictional character, and okay. But now, like, that thing can be done. Like, Tesla can do it, Apple can do it. I wouldn't be surprised if Google can do it. And not only that, it's not the surprise that it can be done. The surprise is the fact that people are fine with it. Like, again, back then, the Bat Skynet was something that it was supposed to creep people out. Like, they were like, what? Like, really? They could do this whole thing? Oh my god. And it was like just one man having access to it. It was just Batman having access to it. Now, people know that, okay, well, the Alexa in your house, yeah, it has a microphone and it can listen to you. Oh, the smartphones that you carry, yeah, they have microphones that they can listen. Like, people are aware of this. And they're fine with it. Though, unironically, I can tell you this from Romanian politics. Like, I do know that people who are higher up or people who are businessmen and they're talking about, like, some important stuff, they genuinely leave their smartphones out of the room. So, like, most rooms that people gather, and even some restaurants have started doing this. Like, if you want to talk about the business meeting, it doesn't even have to be something illegal. Like, if you want to talk about something that involves NDAs, and, it's like let's say some people from Tesla gather and they want to talk about some new technology, the first thing they do is that they take all the smartphones and they put them somewhere else before going into that room. And the reason is, like, that there have been experiments done in order to figure out if phones can actually listen to you. And you can actually do this yourself. So take a new phone, right? Like, just take a brand new phone. Like, doesn't matter. It can be Apple, can be Google. And use a new account, new number, right? Like, create a new profile. And create an account. Create an account on YouTube. Create a Twitter account. Create a Facebook account. And then take a friend and talk to him about cars nonstop. Just talk about cars the entire day. Next to the phone, right? You don't touch the phone, you don't do it, you just put the phone down there and you talk about cars. The next day you'll get commercial for cars. And you can do the experiment. You can talk about football, you can talk about motorcycles, you can talk about boats, you can talk about anything. You will get commercials based on the thing that you're talking about. Can answer the phone without having to take your phone out. Plus, women often don't have pockets, so you can put your phone down while cooking. But you don't need to look for it if someone calls text. Oh my god, like, dude. Giving away so much privacy for so little convenience is shocking. Not to mention the fact that there was a time when people actually, you know, like if the phone rang, you actually had to go all the way to the phone and pick it up and find out who it is. What if you say the N-word next to the phone? Well, this is actually a really interesting question. What if you say the N-word next to the phone? Well, there was recently in the media a guy which had a smart house. Now, the smart house, again, it's something that I don't understand why people want, but it's like minimum convenience in exchange for a huge loss of ownership, which is what the guy found out. So the smart house basically allows you to monitor your home from the outside. Like if you have a smartphone and you're at work, you can now check to see the temperature in your house. So let's say that it's minus 20 degrees outside, right? Now you're at work, so you don't need the house warmed up and you want to save money. Environmentalism. You turn down the heating a little bit, right? There's no one at home. Now you're going to go back to your house because you're finishing work, so you're going to go back in an hour. You turn heating all the way back up. So when you go into your house, now it's warm, right? So you saved a lot of money. You can turn the lights on or off, right? Like from your smartphone. That's what a smart house does. And this individual apparently wasn't at home when a delivery guy came in. And the delivery guy thought that he heard the N-word. He didn't have any recording. He didn't have any witnesses. But what he did have was the audacity to phone Amazon. And he phoned Amazon and he said that while leaving the items on the door, someone from the house called him the N-word. Amazon took away the subscription fee to this guy's smart house. So when the guy goes to his house, the doors don't work, the lights don't turn on, he can't operate the refrigerator, like everything that was connected to the smart application doesn't work. So what does he do? Well, he writes a ticket to Amazon. And he's like, what is going on? What is happening? It takes 1 day. They respond. They inform him. TOS violations. I just want you to understand how dystopian this shit is, right? And this is what rich people buy for themselves. Imagine buying a house. Hello, Echo Drift. Welcome to the show. Imagine buying a house that can lock you out of features based on TOS violations. And now the guy has to prove that he didn't call the N-word. Right? Like, he was deplatformed on an accusation, which he now has to prove that he didn't do it. And luckily, he could prove it because no one was at home when the delivery guy came. So after 1 week or so, Amazon reinstated function to his house. But they didn't apologize or anything like that. I'm a tech lover, but smart equals tracking. I keep saying this. Yes, smart equals spyware. When they say like smart city, smartphone, smart house, smart grilling, it really what it is. It's a spyware. It's shocking. Chinese brands take it much further. The fact that it is even taken this far. You know, like there is a thing where like if it's taken up to a degree, then I don't give a shit if it's taken it even further. Right? And most people are the same. I think like there's a Rubicon. It's kind of like, look, if you have to pay a fine, right? If you have to pay a $500 fine, I mean, it's bad, right? Then if you have to pay $1,000 fine, well, it's worse. But at some point, I think like if you have to pay like $1 million fine, at this point, you know, you realize that the rest of your life is going to be in debt. And if you have to pay $1 million fine or 10 million or 100 million, it doesn't really matter. Because the sensation is the same. It's the amount of sum that you can never pay back. It's really the same stuff, right? So, it's the same with privacy. Like, if you go to the point where if you're deplatformed, you can't open the doors to your house, you can't operate the lights, you can't operate the heating. I don't care like if like there's like Chinese apps that take it a step further. It's already far enough. Like what you know, at this point, is it really your house anymore? Or does it belong to Amazon? That's the question you need to ask. Because that's where the violation feels, right? Like you feel violated because it's not really your house. Why would you need a computer to operate your door? Good fucking question. I don't know. Rich people, what can I say? Oh, I think I know why. It's the whole convenience thing, right? Like it uses facial recognition, it recognizes that you go in, the door opens, you don't have to press anything, you don't have to spin a key, you enter the house, the door closes. Like everything is for convenience. And people are willing to trade away their privacy. People are willing to trade away, I mean, in my situation, in my country, it doesn't happen because people bled recently for these freedoms. We did have a communist revolution, but I wouldn't be surprised if in 2 or 3 generations, people would be willing to trade their freedoms as well. What can you do? You will own nothing and be happy. This is literally what they're talking about, right? And just so you can understand some of the technology that's being pushed. And hopefully not all is going to catch on, and hopefully not all is going to be popular. But at this point, I can only say that I have very little hope based on what I'm seeing. One of the worst types of technologies that I have seen was a motorcycle jacket. It's weird, isn't it? Like a motorcycle jacket? I don't know. Yes. The motorcycle jacket was supposed to save your life in the event of an accident. So it has like motion sensors, and if you hit a bump on the road or, you know, like you fall down off your bike, the sensors trigger, the vest inflates immediately, and it saves your life. But there's a catch. You need to pay a subscription. No, seriously, like think about this, right? You have a life-saving vest that you need to pay a monthly fee in order for it to work. Like if you forgot to pay the monthly fee and you're driving the bike and you're having that and you trip, that thing doesn't inflate. It's, I mean, they justify it, like the company justifying it by saying, well, yeah, but it costs a lot to produce, so it's expensive. And I'm thinking, yeah, no, I get that. But you do realize that someone can just forget to make the payment. Or you know, like most people just leave their credit cards and the payment is done automatically. But like maybe that month he didn't have like sufficient funds or some shit. The thing with the insurance is different, right? Because like insurance, you actually you have like a face-to-face person, I guess. You know what? It kind of is like insurance. Fuck. No, you're right. It is like insurance. It is like insurance, yes. But I guess like the only difference is that the vest is cheaper, right? So like you could actually just like get a bank loan to get it. Like the fact that you're doing this subscription option is really bad optics. If you own a motorbike, there ain't no way. I mean, technically it can. Like you can inherit the motorbike from someone else. It can be a very cheap model. maybe you were rich when you bought it, but then you lost your job. There are ways that you can have a motorbike and not have the money for the subscription fee. But still, like, the idea that someone thought about this. Thank you, Midwest Finest. I appreciate it. Window updates are like vaccines. Ah, I see. All the downsides of Cyberpunk. No privacy, corporate control, with none of the upsides. Bodily hyperautonomy. By the way, insurance reimburses you, doesn't save you. It depends, though. I guess. It depends on the type of aid you need. Like, there are people who are very lucky. You know, they get an insurance, and they pay, like, maybe a couple of months. And then they get, like, a rare disease that they didn't expect. And all of a sudden, they get, like, more money that they put in, right? And then there's other people who pay their entire life, and when they need it, maybe they missed a payment. It's kind of like a luck of the draw thing. But anyway. Let's talk about the thing with the porn, because I find it very amusing. So Twitter, actually, like, now I'm in the industry, right? So I get a lot of artists telling me that their algorithm has been suppressed, and I didn't believe it at first. But then when I look and I see artists that were getting like 500, 600 likes, and all of a sudden, like, literally the next day, they're getting 20, 30 likes. I thought that I know what's going on, and it turns out that I was right. So the European Union filed an injunction against Twitter. And the injunction was, like, people see too much sensitive content. Which is really interesting, right? So, the real Holznator, but all it does. I think there is a difference between something that saves your life and an airbag, and something that saves money. Yeah, but, like, in the perception of the public is the same, right? Like, you buy insurance thinking that it can save your life. And it can. Like, if you don't have money to pay for medical treatment, you die. Right? So, I do believe that it's kind of like that. I mean, of course, it's not 100% like it, but it is kind of like insurance. Industry Insider confirmed. Yes. The thing with the EU is that it's very interesting. So I can understand. Like, first of all, misinformation. That doesn't exist on Twitter. I'm sorry. Community notes completely destroyed misinformation. There is objectively more misinformation on the mainstream media than there is on Twitter. And besides that, most mainstream media gets its news from Twitter. So please fuck off with this whole dumb shit of misinformation. The second one is, like, harmful images, right? So we're talking about violent graphic images, they call it. Graphic images. And my question is to the EU, but obviously, like, they do not answer to me or any citizen, but still, it's an interesting question. Why can't an adult see graphic images? Like, if I'm over the age of 18, why am I not allowed, or how can I see graphic images? Why do you want to see them? I don't have to just... I want to see graphic images. Why can't I see it? Why should I not be allowed? And the question is, why is someone else able to see it? Like, if you're saying that no human being should see these images, then the question would come, well, isn't the censor able to see it? Isn't someone at the government able... What do they have that I don't? Like, do I need to get to the government position? And here is why I advocate for people to see these things. Can we even have this conversation? Like, is it okay? I think that hearing that a building was destroyed with people inside is not the same as actually seeing it. And when you see it, it causes a certain emotional response. I do believe that when people see, for example, what war actually does, people will be more in favor to not have wars. Like, we unironically, you know, when they say video games cause violence, I don't believe that, but there is some truth in the fact that they desensitize people from violence. Like, there have been many people who played Call of Duty, and then unironically they signed up for a mercenary group or they tried joining the military because of Call of Duty, right? And video games like that, they take a lot out of the horror of war. And I think people need to see the horror so that when you go on Twitter and you justify whatever conflict and you're not in favor of peace, you should see what you're advocating for. The EU is in favor of graphical images. They do it all the time. Like, for example, before the refugee crisis, they showed the dead child on the beaches of Greece. Like, that was plastered on every single major newspaper. A dead child. If I were to show a dead kid, I think like that image is allowed on YouTube because it's newsworthy. But if I were to find a dead child in front of my home, like literally, right? And I take a picture of it, and then I make a news event where I only talk about the facts, and I say, look, I went out of my house and I found this dead child in front of it, and I take a picture and I do the CNN thing. My channel would get shut down immediately. Demonetized at best, shut down at worst. CNN gets to do that with kids in Syria. Like, they have actual footage where they claim, like, I do not believe that the footage is authentic, but, you know, CNN claims it is. And it shows, like, children dying from a gas attack. And that's fine. Like, that can stay up. That is mainstream news. That is, like, for public consumption. No problem with it, right? So this is, like, my question for the EU. Is, like, what is the standard and why isn't there a standard? Why is it that mainstream media is allowed to show graphic images? Why is it that some graphic images are fine, but others not? Why is it that, for example, with the case of kids in Syria, that is fine to show, but the kids that passed away at the incident from Nice, that is not allowed? Right? Like, who makes these decisions, by the way? Who is the judge that gets to decide what, again, like the public, and we're talking about adults, we're not talking about children. We're talking about people over the age of 18 that can vote, that can serve in the military. Why can they not watch certain type of footage, but they can watch other? The default should be to blur over the image with a warning attached. No censorship necessary. Yeah. No, like, unironically, like, if I want to see something, I shouldn't be prevented. No grown-ass adult. Because the implication is that we are not good enough. Well, I guess not necessarily good. Like, our brain isn't developed enough to firmly understand what is happening there. Or something like that. I don't know. But the idea is that, okay, so the politician is more enlightened, more superior than the average citizen. They can see the images. They can understand, but the public can't. Playing Halo when I was young probably contributed to me joining the military. Turned out to be a good thing, but I wouldn't want anyone else to do what I did. Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily like a bad thing to join the military. Don't get me wrong. But there have been people that were incentivized by video games to join the military, and then they see some really horrifying shit over there that they weren't prepared to see. And it's like, okay, well, that's not even the big issue. The big issue is when I see people that treat the war in Ukraine as a football match on Twitter. That's disgusting, by the way. And I'm on the side of Ukraine. But, like, there are people with Ukrainian flags in the bio that don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and they're not even from the region. They're from California. Or women that find Zelensky hot and other type of shit like that. It's like, really? Like, it's a war zone. It's not a football match. You do understand this. I will not be lectured and had my hand held by people that don't even know what is a woman. Oh, like, sometimes they do know what is a woman. Like, for example, in the EU, when Ursula von der Leyen went to Turkey, and she had to sit on a couch. No, sorry, it was like the men sat on a couch and she had to sit on a chair. All of a sudden, that was misogynistic and unjustified. Although I do agree that theoretically that was, like, a bad way of doing diplomacy. Like, it was a diplomatic scandal. But like, again, like, who is Ursula von der Leyen? Like, I didn't vote for her. What military does she have? She wants to have a military, though. Like, the EU army. That would be the worst thing ever, because we already have NATO. We don't need the EU army. The last people that I would trust with an army on the face of the earth are the Germans. And the Germans have influence in the EU. So no, like I am glad that we're under NATO. Schrodinger's woman, yes. They knew what a woman was during that tech hiring conference. Yeah. That's a good point. They wanted to. There was a funny guy saying that he wanted the name of the men to be put on a list so that they can be blacklisted. And my counter argument was like, yeah, no, that's a great thing, so that they can then sue the company that blacklists them. Because unironically, like, you can sue for gender discrimination. Like, the laws in some countries and states in the US, like for example in California, it clearly states that if you identify as a woman, you become a woman. You don't need anything else. Like, you literally cannot lie. Like, the law makes absolutely sure that there is no such thing like as an authentic trans person and a person faking it. Like, no, from a legal perspective, if you go to the government and you say that you identify as a woman, you get an ID card. Like, there is a process, you get the paperwork done, and you become a woman in the eyes of the government. So, like, if they would say that you're faking it and they put you on a blacklist, you have legal rights to sue. You will win that lawsuit. It's true. It's absolutely true. Blacklisting is illegal in the United States. That's why companies don't say they have them. Well, yeah, but like, there have been cases where companies are a little bit too outspoken. And if they put your name on a blacklist or something like that, well. But no, like, if you're a man and you identify as a woman and you get the legal paperwork that proves you're a woman, the moment the company says you're faking it, that's gender discrimination. And you can sue. And you will win. They call it a whitelist nowadays. I see. Blacklisting policy. So police only respond if you are a protected class. They actually said that. I forgot in which place. I saw a politician saying it, but it was something like, we will prioritize finding missing children from marginalized communities first. And I'm thinking like, isn't that like a little bit of a race-based discrimination though? Like, just a little. Do you prioritize on taking taxpayer money as well? Or like when you collect the taxes, you don't prioritize? Like when you collect the taxes, you take it from everyone. But when it's like redistributing the taxes, then you prioritize. Sounds like theft to me, by the way. Anyway, right, I should be going now because I do have an event that I need to attend with my wife. So this is why I even streamed a little bit earlier. But I'll see you guys tonight on the Archcast. So thank you a lot for the donations and the super chats. And hopefully you guys will have a nice weekend. Take care.